Episode 4 of The Acolyte has dropped, and the Rotten Tomatoes rating dropped with it, as at the time of recording this, the critic score fell from 84 to 83%. That just may be related to Lucasfilm's latest virtue signal, as Star Wars is now mindful of pronouns. But somewhat surprisingly, not even the entertainment media complex were too pleased with that, because as it turns out, while pronouns were included, they were included wrong. Episode 4 of The Acolyte is here. You know, the one that Grace Randolph has been saying is the best of the 4 episodes sent to reviewers in advance, and the one she thought was really going to win those still on the fence over. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, but I will grant that this is the best, as in the least shockingly bad, of all episodes released thus far. And that would be because it was a bit more Star Wars-y, as there was at the very least a Sith with a red lightsaber. And that's really the whole reason. There was nothing else redeeming about it in my book. Yes, the episode also had that Jedi with the tall head from episode 1, but him being there creates all kinds of continuity issues with episode 1, which from what I understand has caused emergency updates on the Star Wars wiki Wikipedia, where allegedly past information is being rewritten to jive with what was just shown on screen. So that was hardly a plus.
The guy in the prequel trilogy who says the Sith haven't returned for millennia is the same guy corroborating with Jedi to not tell Master Yoda and the same Jedi Council that he apparently gets promoted to or is on that the Jedi are fighting Sith now? What are people gonna say to defend this? Oh, you guys are just toxic, you just hate you're sexist! Bro, why is Ki-Adi-Mundi here? He's not supposed to be here. Ki-Adi-Mundi was born 132 years prior to the Acolyte so that it will fit in with his... Whoa, wait! Wikipedia just changed their shit right now in real time? Quick! They are quick! 93 BBY, but then you scroll down, was born prior to 132 BBY. Huh? I don't understand. How was he born before? Because they just manipulated the system because of a shitty show where the showrunner has no idea what Star Wars is.
Also not a plus was the writing overall. The one scene that really stood out to me, and in the worst way possible, was when May decided, you know, I'm gonna be good now, and turn myself over to the Jedi. They're gonna let bygones be bygones and forget about me already having killed 2 of them. Which was an about-face so shockingly poorly developed and written that I have no real words for it. Suffice to say, I have previously said that I think Leslie Headland may be a decent storyteller in her own right. She's just not the right fit for Star Wars, but I'm gonna have to reassess my position on that after this episode. Because even if she might not have written this episode herself, she is still the showrunner and okayed it. But that aside, the big story of the day though, although somewhat overblown given the context of the scene, is that Star Wars now does pronouns, in space, in canon and on screen. I emphasize in canon and on screen, because under the Kathleen Kennedy regime, pronouns and related gender issues have been explored before, and much more thoroughly than was the case with the Bloodhound hamster right here. Past examples include the game Star Wars Squadrons, which featured Keo Venci, I guess that's how you pronounce it, who goes by they-them pronouns. And lest we forget, the ever-so-diverse High Republic Publishing Initiative, which not only gave us openly gay characters and other body-positive, i.e. diabetic, Jedi, it also gave us Kantam Sai, a Padawan of Yoda and another gender-fluid they-them. The most overt example, though, would be Taka Jamorisa, a guest character in the Han Solo and Lando novel Last Shot, which was released in 2021. Here's the author telling the world about this character and the character's importance. At the time, he posted a video on Twitter where he told his motivation for the character. Sadly, we can't play back that video here, due to him playing copyrighted music in the background, but what he said was, I wanted to show that they were a person of color, because there are very few non-binary people and even fewer non-binary people of color in the media. I wanted them to be able to say their pronouns and not have other people gender them and decide their gender from the outside. I wanted them to be clearly human and not an alien, because in this particular case that was important. And finally, I wanted to show canonically Han and Lando respecting the they-them pronouns without missing a beat, because they're heroes. And real heroes respect people's pronouns. Compared to all of that, Osa being unsure about the hamster's pronouns for a scene lasting seconds really isn't all that. But this nonetheless represented the first time pronouns were referenced this way on screen and in live action, thus bringing gender politics from the American university campuses into official canon in a more definitive way than before, which irked some, including some members in the media that you'd think would be more accepting as the Rotten Tomatoes score went down after the release of this episode. Polygon even wrote an article I never thought I would see from them, as they would normally stand in the trenches with Lucasfilm and shout down the quote-unquote toxic fans, all while proudly proclaiming themselves to be on the right side of history. But instead, they published the piece, "Dear TV Writers, please stop being weird about pronouns," with the byline, "The Acolyte is the latest example of a bizarre trend," which again is a byline I never thought I would see from Polygon, but here we are. Their angle isn't quite what you might think though, based on these headlines. After describing the scene, which amounts to asking if, in reference to the hamster, he or they is with them, the opinion piece reads, "This is the latest example of what I'm going to call the globby problem, expertly parodied on the other two. Well-meaning writers and showrunners, some of them queer themselves, trying to awkwardly insert non-binary or genderqueer representation into their show, usually through the show's requisite weirdo character. The result is, instead, often pretty othering. In The Acolyte, Osa only asks about Basil's pronouns, and Basil would be the hamster, not those of any of the other people she meets. This reveals more about Osa than I think the Acolyte's writers were intending. The exchange implies she is actively othering Basil and assuming he— yes, it is later revealed that Basil uses he-him pronouns, which makes all of this even sillier. Must be gender variant, because he looks odd to her. This is actually a good point. The message that the Acolyte conveys here is that if someone looks weird, be mindful of their pronouns. But no such consideration need be taken with normal-looking people though, and that has some implications about who is concerned with pronouns in the first place and what they look like. And that might not have been the message that Lucasfilm intended to convey. Yet that is the message that the author of this piece was able to extract. Case in point, the piece continues. The Acolyte going out of its way to make a show of only asking about the character who looks the most different is quite weird, and unfortunately makes Osa kind of look like a dick. The end result is that no one is happy. Toxic Star Wars fans are mad for the usual bigoted reasons, and I'm mad, says the author of the piece, because it's so thoughtless. I would say that the truly toxic and even bigoted people here aren't the fans, but the ones behind the scenes at Lucasfilm, as they were the ones creating this divisive content that isn't pleasing anyone on any side of the pronoun issue, except maybe Grace Randolph. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments.